Don't just think that the goal of business is to raise investment capital, because it's not. Investment capital increases the chance of failure. It doesn't reduce the chance of failure. What increases the chance of success is customers, contracts, revenue, and good product. I was a web designer. I had 30 clients. They all needed a way to email their website visitors. Investment capital, focus on getting customers and revenue, and the money will come if you really need it.
Welcome back to another episode of Unfuck My Startup. Today's guest is the founder of iContact, a company near and dear to me because I operated as a late entrant into, and so did Pete, into the email marketing space. Ryan was the first entrant, or maybe second, into that space, pioneered a lot about SaaS and ended up selling that business for $169 million in 2012. Now he spends his time helping other entrepreneurs grow to nine-figure exits. Nine-figure exits, guys. I say bootstrapping 10 million ARR is a promised land. Nine-figure exits, that's really the promised land, let's be honest. Through his community called SaaS Rise, today's guest, so excited to have you here, Ryan Allis. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. Happy to be here today.
Well, here is how we run the show. It's a few different segments. The first show we call the pitch slap. We bring somebody from the audience up to pitch everyone else in the audience, and we ask them questions. We give them 2 minutes, and we try to book them demos. I think we booked 27 demos last week for somebody. It was a really interesting product. So, Pete, who we got coming up for the pitch slap?
Yeah, so today we have Steve Mordew coming up to pitch his company Rapid Start. So, yeah, Ryan, this section, this is like half Shark Tank, half QVC, if you want to call it that. And then we have another audience section later in the show, halfway through, called Unfuck My Startup. We'll let you drop some of your knowledge in here, and we'll get somebody who kind of relates to some of the things you've been working on. But we're going to pull up Steve here. Folks, audience, I'm talking to you. If you would like to be a part of the pitch slap segment next week or the weeks beyond, email producer@rb2b.com. If you submitted in the past, go ahead and submit again. We got a ton of entrants every week. And
as a reminder, the rules of the pitch slap are, we're going to run a poll after Steve is done. If over 66% buy, Steve gets a swag box. Over 33%, he gets a t-shirt. Under 33, we send him home with a smile. And then we try to book him demos. So let's get that timer ready.
All right, great. My name is Steve Mordew. We built a simple to use CRM application on the Microsoft stack specifically. Originally competing with Microsoft's internal solutions Dynamics for large companies, making the pivot now to try and go after HubSpot, which is the favorite of all the startups. But any of those startups, any of those folks that are actually on the Microsoft ecosystem, and I know a lot of them are using other stuff out there, but if they're on the Microsoft system, we've got a very logical alternative for them. It is first 10 users are free. After that, they're only $15, so it's a low-cost solution. Our business model really is services, helping those customers take that solution further if they want. They can certainly do it themselves. They can work with us. We've built a simple CRM that does sales and customer service. We've also built project management and field service apps in the same vein. And not really looking to book demos because it's it's free, and I don't have time to be doing demos of a free app, but we do have a test drive on the site. They can go demo it themselves. Really just looking for people to buy it. We've got 170,000 users today, which sounds like a lot, but it really should be 1 million. So eager to see if we can figure out how to get it there. I will cede the rest of my time.
Can you just recap? So what is it again for the, I'm not a Microsoft person, so I have no idea. What is the solution again?
Yeah, but you're familiar with HubSpot, so
yeah. What is it for HubSpot? How about that?
It's a competitor to HubSpot. I don't know if you can see the screen, but essentially it's a CRM solution tracking accounts, contacts, opportunities, prospects, and cases. Built on Microsoft, so it integrates natively with Outlook, with Microsoft Teams, with SharePoint. If you're a Microsoft shop, these things are all important to you. If you're not, you couldn't care less. So that's essentially what we've built. It's been around for a while, but it's been getting traction the last couple of years, and we really want to go after HubSpot.
Got it. And then why would somebody switch from HubSpot? Give us the quick.
Primarily HubSpot has a free solution as well, but it very quickly you outgrow that and move into some pretty expensive upgrades to keep it going. Our solution doesn't have that. It just stays the same low price. Just scale it as big as you want, many people as you want, many processes you want. Salesforce's free CRM is lead gen. It's basically their upsell machine, and our upsell machine is our app, and our upsell is our services to help you if you need help.
Got it.
Again, 170,000 users. We don't help most of them. Most of them are self-service, doing stuff themselves, or working with other partners. I can't prevent them from doing that. But that's it.
All right. And then Jim is asking, what is the cost?
So the cost of the app's first 10 users are nothing forever. After that, they're $15 each.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
cheap. Steve, thanks for coming up. And let's launch that poll too. Steve, if you want to drop into the chat where people can find out more, grab sign up for free, whatever it is they do, feel free to drop that into the chat. But Steve, thanks for coming on. Appreciate
And
you.
Steve, I think, if we did a percentage of people who use Microsoft apps survey, it would track this. Would you buy this pretty well? Pretty much everybody in our audience, I think, is in the Gmail and, sort of whatever world.
Understood.
That. Well, awesome.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. And audience, if you would like to come up next week to pitch, producer@rb2b.com. I dropped the link again. But we're 11 minutes after the hour. Let's get into it with our fantastic guest, Ryan Allis. So, Ryan, you started this is your first business, iContact. You were a freshman in college, a freshman at UNC. Is that right?
That's right. I was 18 years old, first year at UNC Chapel Hill.
So literally the starting a company in your dorm room, early 2000s, like this started to come about in the Zuckerberg era. I'm just curious to start, what motivated an 18-year-old freshman in college to start iContact?
I think it was product need. I was a web designer. I had 30 clients. They all needed a way to email their website visitors. And back then, it was very difficult to do click tracking, HTML email, bounce handling, and maintain a list. You had to literally do it on your desktop. And you could only send maybe 2,000 or 3,000 emails before the whole system would blow up. So we made IntelliContact, which later became called iContact. And we built that company for 10 years.
That's incredible. Now, I hope I'm not walking into an obvious answer here, but the internet's changed a lot since 2002. If you were a freshman in college today, how would you approach starting a business? I'm sure the product you would work on will be different. The approach to how you're building, is there something that sticks out for how folks are building today that differs wildly from 23 years ago?
Well, I'm just excited for the 18-year-olds of today. They have ChatGPT and all these AI tools. I didn't have that, and my son's 3 years old. He's going to grow up with self-driving cars, personalized genomics, and AI that builds beautiful things. And so I'm very optimistic for the future. And if I were 18 today, I'd dive deep into the world of building software with AI and build some epic things.
Can I ask you something? This is something I think about a lot. It feels like anything that I do that works gets copied way faster than it used to. Does that, and then if you sort of sit and think about that for a while, it's like, okay, like let's use Jason Lemkin as an example. His business is like this SaaSter. It's like one of the 3 live events in SaaS that people would go to advertise.
Yep.
That's like, and he built that with a personal brand over a long period of time. But like, if I use my same personal brand to improve RB2B into something that I actually like, which is not the case right now, it seems like 30 other people are going to very quickly use these tools to push the exact same thing. And they may even copy my personal brand playbook to some extent, which has happened. So like, how do you feel about that underlying fundamental dynamic of building software versus being an entrepreneur that in other spaces, you know? I just thought it was interesting. You're like, I would build software still, you know, like,
Absolutely. I mean, I was on Lovable 2 nights ago and I built an app in 2 hours and it was a very
yeah,
simple app, but I'm not a coder. I'm a designer slash CEO slash, B2B
yeah,
SaaS consultant. So, but I can build apps now and it's awesome what we can build. And of course, people are going to copy what we're doing because the world is moving at a faster pace. Knowledge is getting disseminated, opportunity is getting disseminated, and anyone, whether you're 16 or 46, can build things very quickly now, which I'm excited about.
and does that skew how you would look at the opportunity set if you're your 3-year-old son and they were 18? Like, would you try, see how I'm approaching is like, okay, what are things that people can't copy quite as easily? The marketing, personal brand, like that stuff, it's kind of hard for somebody else to be me. But then it's like, what are the other things that can't copy? Like, are you even thinking about that? Or are you just like, I don't even care. I'm just going to try to keep giving value to people as quickly as possible. This is just the new world we're living in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to build communities, and communities value are a function of the people in them. And so there's the network effect, similar to, how Facebook grew so quickly in the early 2000s. And so in our B2B communities, if you have 500 great SaaS CEOs and founders in it, which we now have at SaaS Rise, then other hundreds of other SaaS CEOs and founders are going to come join that community. So I feel like it's brand, it's personal content creation, and then it's who else is in your community that drives differentiation right now.
Totally. Which, but this is what I'm asking you. It's like, I get that about community. Why aren't you building if you were excited about your kids building SaaS, why are you building a community and not a SaaS? I'm really just hammering this because I'm so curious because like I'm conflicted about it. You
Yeah.
know?
I'm not trying to be a CEO. I've been an 80-hour a week SaaS
Right.
CEO, venture backed, had a 9-figure exit. I'm trying to be a dad right now and work 20 hours a week building a community. So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to solve for is what is the way that I can make a few $1,000,000 a year working as little as I can while doing something I enjoy. That's the
Boom.
Venn diagram I'm trying to figure out. Whereas in my 20s, I was like, how do I work as much as possible to build a 9-figure exit company, within 10 years? It's a totally different outcome and target.
Yeah, I hear that. Do you think that AI has made, based on what you see and who's in this community, do you think that this very quickly building AI has changed the ability for people to create? What do you think the outlook for lifestyle businesses is in SaaS? Do you think like that has gotten more compelling or less? Because like there is an alternative to just working 80 hours a week.
Absolutely.
You know,
I think if you're, trying to earn $1,000,000 a year, you're building a bootstrap SaaS company and you're trying to get to 3, 4, 5 million in ARR, I think it's easier than ever to do that. And you know, I think it's faster than ever. Now, the thing is there's more competition. And
yeah.
so you really have to be good at marketing, good at product development, good at UI, UX, good at sales, etc. But if you can get good at those things, then it's easier than ever to build a company from 0 to 5 million in ARR.
Yeah. And I feel like it's just harder to get to these, you know, it's easier to stall out at higher levels of ARR in a way that you never would have before. Like Lemkin used to have or somebody used to say this. It's like 0 to 1 impossible, 1 to 10 improbable, 10 to 100 inevitable, which like that's just not the case anymore. You know, like you can get to 11 million ARR and it's not inevitable that you're getting to 100. Like you may
No.
not get to 12.
And
Yeah.
that's why if you're going to build an 11 million ARR company, you got to do it with the right capital stack,
Yeah,
because you do not want to be venture backed and have 11 million and be stuck there.
totally. So, which probably brings us to this next question we wanted to ask you. Why'd you bootstrap for 3 years and then go raise VC?
I was 18. Nobody was giving an 18-year-old millions of dollars after the dot-com crash of 2000, 2001, if you can bring yourself back to that day. And so nobody would give me money until we had 1 million in revenue. And thank God, because had we gotten revenue, had we gotten equity, we would have blown it all and screwed up our expense structure. You're way better off as a SaaS company bootstrapping to $1 million in ARR, that 83,000 in MRR. And then once you're there, that might take you 2 years, 3 years. But once you're there, then you can figure out if there's enough demand to truly make it a venture backable business.
Yeah.
What was like that signal for you where you're like, now's the time to raise money? You did that 3 years into the business. Is that right?
Yeah. We started in 2002. We had 1.3 million in ARR by 2005. In today's money, that's maybe 2 million in ARR. And then someone asked me a really important question in 2005 at lunch. Another CEO asked me, Ryan, how much does it cost to get a new customer? What's your CAC? And I said, $500. And he says, how much a customer is worth to you? And I said, all right, he helped me figure out how to do the math of LTV and ARPA and churn. And I said, all right, it's $2,000 LTV for a $500 CAC. Like, all right, 4-to-1 LTV to CAC ratio. It's not great, but it's good enough. Like, can we ramp that up? And so we just went out and we raised a bunch of venture capital before mostly anybody else. And we were number 2 after Constant Contact and just ramped up as quickly as we could.
That's incredible. What were some differences you noticed? So bootstrap phase, I mean, really college student ramping up into a $1 million+ ARR business, which is awesome. Already for a lot of people, that's the dream. You go from that to, where you're really the captain of your own ship. Now you're at the VC stage. There's a lot of people at the table. It must be, first of all, kind of intimidating. I don't want to speak for you, but like as a college student to have these venture capitalists kind of breathing down your neck, can you take us through kind of the difference in that experience?
Well, we were in North Carolina, which is very different than Silicon Valley. I always laugh that I've built 3 companies, 2 succeeded and 1 failed. The 2 successful ones were in North Carolina and Texas, and the failure was in Silicon Valley. And so in North Carolina, there's a focus on normal business logic, that revenues need to be higher than expenses every single month. And only when you have profitable unit economics would you raise any equity capital. It would be crazy to do anything other than that. So that's what we did in Raleigh in 2005. We got a local company. It was a North Carolina-based Raleigh venture firm to give us $500,000. And my rule of thumb is never, ever, unless you're a freaking rocket ship company, raise more than 1 times your ARR in outside equity capital. So we had 1.3 million in annual recurring revenue. We raised $500,000 in a convertible note. And that allowed us to scale up to get to 4 or 5 million. And then a following year, we raised 5 million in venture capital when we had 5 million in ARR. And we just kept that. We later raised 40 million in venture capital when we had 40 million in ARR. And so we kept that 1-to-1 ratio, and that minimized dilution and allowed us to not get our cap table upside down.
Oh, what a great topic. And I've never heard it said this way before. I feel like you
Also
almost
crazy.
never,
That's like a hot take.
Yeah, you almost never hear of people doing that. And I think it's hard. Like, it's hard for founders to not think that raising more money is less dilutive. It's like, because you get a higher valuation or whatever. That is fantastic. The thing that I wanted to ask you though is, like, let's say I'm a founder, I'm listening to this. Let's say I got to 1 million or 2 million or 3 million ARR. How do I know if I have a rocket ship business or not? Like, how do I know if I should bootstrap like Adam says to do, or actually go out and get venture?
Start with revenue-based financing, prove out the unit economics. And if your customer acquisition continues to go up by 150% a year, well, then keep raising more debt. And then after you get to 2-3 million, and if you're still growing at 150% a year, that's when you raise venture. The problem happens when you get to 3 million and then you go raise that Series A, you go raise 10 million on a 30 million pre, and then you're only able to go from 3 to 6. Well, then you're screwed. Then you're basically, your liquidation preferences are going to eat up all of the value and you're never going to get anything out of it. And so you can't let that happen. 90% of venture capital backed firms never get anything in terms of money to the founders. The investors usually get their money back and the founders get nothing. And so it's not better to raise more money. It's better to only raise more money if you're still growing at 150% year over year on top line revenue and your unit economics stay positive after expansion.
And this is the second Nathan Laka promo I'm going to give in a week. I gave one on LinkedIn too. Founder Path, you can get ARR financed debt which is what you were referencing, correct? Like something like that.
That's right.
For early financing. I made a whole post on it last week about um, four founders had hit 3 million ARR and they wanted to do 10 million at like 70 or 80 to
Stupid.
immediately go hire 30 salespeople, which that's just not, it's like, you're smiling. It's like, I know exactly what's going to happen. It's like the founder's doing all the selling now. You haven't flushed out a sales machine yet. And then you go raise the money and then race into it and it never works. Go raise 500K, hire a 3-man pod, figure out how to hire, train, and retain people on some predictable sort of, I don't even know what you call that, unit economics.
Yep.
Get 5 more million ARR and then go raise your, 8-10 million or whatever.
That's right.
This is great.
I think I shared that scene from Silicon Valley a couple of weeks ago on LinkedIn where they're sitting at the bar. I don't know, Brian, if you've ever watched that show. I would imagine you have. And Richard's talking the guy down from like, hey, why'd you need to raise $50 million? That whole thing. It's just belligerently pragmatic in the best way possible. And it's kind of hilarious that you were able to find that sort of pragmatic approach in North Carolina, but when you go to the hub of it all, it's just the wheels are off the bus. It's just fantasy land. And I think that's really funny. Somebody had dropped in here before we get to our next segment. I want to see if you agree with this, Ryan. Andy H says, if you have a real rocket ship business, VC will find you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, everybody knows that people can use Crunchbase and PitchBook to find the number of employees you have. Everyone's tracking the number of employees you have on LinkedIn. The second that you show traction in terms of the number of people that work for you in LinkedIn or any market presence at all, you're going to start getting 3 to 5 venture capitalists per week reaching out to you, usually associates. They're doing their own outbound strategy. And so, yeah, don't worry about trying to find investment capital. Focus on getting customers and revenue, and the money will come if you really need it.
And my question was more about like, that's gonna happen, but how do you know what the right thing for you to do is? And you answered it, by the way, like, because those same people who are reacting to these market indicators are going to try to give you way too much money. And it's so exciting because like, they're like, if you sign this piece of paper, you're going to be worth 20 million or whatever it is, right? Like you're worth the third of this 30 million pre or whatever it is. And that's a very exciting thing to most founders who have been, living in their parents' basement and struggling to make ends meet for a while.
So in the second half, we're going to dive into SaaS Rise. That's the company and community Ryan's working on to help other entrepreneurs get to this 9-figure exit. I'm pumped to dive into that. Ryan also released this. We were talking about it right before the show. In 2014, Ryan released a Lessons from My 20 doc. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's like 1,100 slides long, and it's just easy reading from a flow perspective. You can kind of scroll through it. Amazing lessons from somebody who, I don't mean to talk you up too much, but kind of lived a whole life in his 20s, which is really incredible. So we're going to share the link to that. We're going to dive into that. Before we do that, we're getting to Ryan. This is the namesake segment of the show. It's called Unfuck My Startup. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring somebody up. They're going to tell us why their startup is more or less fucked. I would love to hear from somebody who is currently trying to raise a little bit of venture or just some fundraising in that early round. So please raise your hand. We'll get some hand raising going. Something that relates to the conversation that Ryan's having and his expertise. These seem to be it seems to make for a better segment. So hand raises, I don't see any going up right now, which is for 366 people.
Yeah.
To get advice from this panel.
Sometimes we have to say, audience, we're talking to you.
I forget every time.
Audience. Yeah. Hey,
Audience.
guys. Like, is this thing on?
There we go. Our audience, if you would like your startup unfucked by the best in the biz, raise your hand. We'll do about 5 minutes.
Oh, the hand went down.
We'll do 2 minutes. Sorry, 2 minutes of you explaining your business, 3 minutes of panel. So folks, we did a couple of things in here to just beef up the value that is in there. We have a checklist. It's the Unfuck My Startup 10-step checklist You'll see the link was just posted. I'll post it again. And what we've also done, this is sort of beta new. We have an Atom founder brain bot. So we loaded, I don't know, 11.
A million. It's a million words I put in there.
We uploaded a million
words.
And some video. You can talk to basically Adam. You can chat with them. Go through the checklist. Use that bot as your thought partner. It's all in the page, the autoresponder page that you get. It's what we talk about in our RBDB Insiders community. I know a bunch of you hopped in for the free LinkedIn course the other week, but hop into the newsletter, mess around with that, and we will chat about it next week. And we have our man Idris. Idris, how you doing?
What's up, Idris?
Hi there. Thank you very much. I'm a little nervous, so allow me to take a deep breaths along the way.
Just don't get in an accident while you're driving, bro.
No, it's fine. It's midair, midnight, so empty roads. Yeah, I'm pretty fine.
Okay.
So yeah, we are building this. My name is Idris, and I'm based in Pakistan, and I run an agency, but we are moving into a product-based kind of move now, and we're building an e-commerce agent historically our agency was primarily building websites like on platforms like Magento, Shopify, like all these e-commerce platforms. And now we are working on trying to get ourselves into AI and building an e-commerce agent for the back-end side of things like fulfillment and integrations, and pretty much ignored areas in like a big market where a lot of the millions of websites in Shopify and many on Magento, BigCommerce, these kind of platforms. And so we are kind of at a stage where we come across, I try to pitch, this idea to, some advisors and some other people, and they kind of also talk about investments and all these things. So my point is that, I was asked recently that if we give you funding, what are you going to spend it on, right? So what specific problem are you going to solve with my money? And in general, you would think about, of course, you have money and you would actually just want to spend it on good things, hire more people and do these kind of things. But I didn't have a very clear answer to that. So does that mean that, is there a problem with my idea, or is it basically too early to talk about these things? So I tell just people if they like the idea and they want to give me money, and I don't have answer to their questions. So am I going wrong somewhere, or is it natural? So how do we handle this kind of situation?
Great. Should I take that? Take that, guys?
Take it, Ryan.
All right, great.
That's the reason you're here.
Idris, first of all, congrats on building a company. It's challenging to build a company for sure, and you're in the middle of it, and good work on doing it. So to your question, you should definitely not raise outside capital until you know where you're going to put that capital. And it's really important to build the engine before you put the fuel in the car. And so, you've got a company, it sounds like you're converting from e-commerce websites to e-commerce software in some way. Don't just think that the goal of business is to raise investment capital, because it's not. Investment capital increases the chance of failure. It doesn't reduce the chance of failure. What increases the chance of success is customers, contracts, revenue, and good product. And so once you have your company to say $500,000 a year in revenue, $1 million a year in revenue or higher, well, then you'll probably know, hey, if I had an extra couple $100,000, how would I use that money to grow faster? And once you know your unit economics, the value of a customer and how much it costs to get a customer, once you know your LTV and your CAC, well, then you can do a simple math and you can say, hey, for every dollar I spend on marketing, am I getting at least $5 to $6 back in lifetime revenue? And if you are, well, then the answer is very simple to investors. Then you say, hey, I'm going to invest it in engineers and sales and marketing, which are pretty much the only two things that are worthwhile to invest venture capital in: engineers and sales and marketing. And if you can prove that there's demand for your product, and you can prove that you can get $5 or $6 back for every $1 you put in, well, then you're going to have a lot of people wanting to fund you.
Got it. Makes sense. So it's really about, if I understand correctly, it's basically not the problem or anything. It's just that equation that needs to make sense before we talk about anything else. And then, any answer, a good answer, will be acceptable as long as it makes that kind of equation where $1 goes in and comes like $10 come out or something like that.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
I'm
thanks.
plotting my next LinkedIn post in the comments here, guys. Dialogue between Ryan, Allis, and Idris. These dialogue posts are really working for what it's worth. That was a great one. That was an all-star piece of advice.
And I think the piece too, we've heard this from quite a few guests, and I know Adam, you've talked about this. Like, your funding should really be towards, yeah, I mean, as Ryan said, either coding or selling the code that you just wrote up. I think that's it. And don't take great leaps and do the mental gymnastics to be like, well, technically, if I spend 10K on this podcast, for just all of that very direct selling. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, and my 2 cents on is like somebody who's much more experienced than me said to me one time, he's like, these days, I think the only thing that you should raise venture for is to step on the gas in sales and marketing, because like raising venture to build product is just so risky that you will almost certainly blow yourself up if what your plan is to go out and raise money to then build a bunch of product that you have not sold yet. Try to do that on it's like get to there on a shoestring budget. And then once you have this semblance of a sales machine that you can then just go find parts to bolt on with money, that's when you go do it, which I'm sure that is what we had somebody in the comments say. He bootstrapped 8 million and just raised 45. I mean, Ryan probably still wouldn't have done that, but like Michael Hopkins, congratulations, Michael. Bootstrapping 8 million is not easy. And, we maybe wouldn't have raised 45, but like, that's the time to do it,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Michael Hopkins is a very interesting story from what I have gained over his comments from many episodes. So, Michael, shoot me an email. We maybe
yeah, Michael,
we'll have our first audience member as a guest.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
We want to talk to you
cool.
about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, once again, Idris, thanks so much for coming up. We appreciate you. I know you're driving around, so thanks for joining. We appreciate you. We'll
Thanks,
let you get
man.
back to
Be
listening.
safe.
There's this interview with Peter Thiel that always sticks out in my mind. Somebody was like, how did you know, why was it such a dead simple decision to fund Facebook? He was like, they just needed computers. Like, they needed computers and people to code on the computers. And that was like, they weren't telling me this whole other, kind of growth story aside from like just very pragmatic function. So I thought that was it kind of goes along with Ryan's advice there. But all right, Ryan, let's get into SaaS Rise. This is the what you're working on now. You're working with a ton of different startups and entrepreneurs, helping them get to that 8-9 figure exit, that dream state. So you see a lot of startups. Everyone's trying to acquire customers. Obviously, that's really what the whole thing's about. Is there a specific thing, a specific function or trend that is working right now? Whether it's people leveraging AI for certain business functions, or is there something that's basically working for those community members of SaaS Rise, and a commonality amongst them?
Absolutely. So I run 2 communities. I run SaaS Rise, which is for SaaS CEOs and founders with at least $1 million in annual revenue. And then I run a community called Growth Rise, which is for B2B marketing and sales leaders of any revenue size. And so we've got 550 members in SaaS Rise. We just launched Growth Rise. We have about 150 members. And what's working for us to acquire our 700 members is the following 3 things. Number one is our average customer pays us about $750 a month. The membership starts at $197 a month, but then we have other programs that we offer that get the average revenue per account to be $750 a month. So our ACV, we don't do annual contracts, but our annual revenue is about $8,000 to $9,000 per client. So that's just, we're purely in the mid-market. And what's working for us in the mid-market is ABM lead list building, AI personalized outbound, combined with matched audience ads and retargeting ads to the same people who are on the ABM lead list that we're also doing outbound to via email and LinkedIn. So I could talk about that topic for a long time and happy to go into any detail, but those are the things that are working for us. We also do a whole bunch of thought leader ads on LinkedIn, which is where you put organic content posts like Adam does all the time, and then you boost them to your matched audience that is on your ABM list. And so if you're going after the mid-market or enterprise market, your ACV is at least $2,000-$3,000 a year and up. And you can build a target list of the people who is in your target market and then show those people ads via matched audience ads, and then do outbound via email and LinkedIn tools like Instantly, Hey Reach, Ample Market, etc. And then do weekly content to the warm people on your list. That's what we do, and it works extremely well. We've gone from 0 to 4 million in ARR in 18 months, completely bootstrapped.
That's incredible.
People love tools. ABM ads, is the tool there just LinkedIn and you feed the same list into it?
No, it's much more nuanced than that. I'll speak to it. So step one, you got to build a list of your target market. We call that your account-based marketing list. And we do that using tools like Apollo, Instantly, List Kit, Seamless, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. There's 20 other tools. Once we build a comprehensive list of everybody in our target market, which for us is SaaS CEOs and founders with 5 to 1,000 employees, then we upload that CSV file of those people to Meta, to LinkedIn, to Google, and to AdRoll, those 4 places. And then we show matched audience ads to the people that match those ABM leads. And those same people are also added to outbound sequences that reach out via email and LinkedIn. And so the same people that are on our ABM list are getting our outbound messaging on email, outbound messaging on LinkedIn, and seeing our ads everywhere. It makes our brand omnipresent. And then the last 6 months, we've been AI personalizing the outbound emails using clay.com and then using either the ChatGPT or Claude APIs so that we don't spend all the Clay credits. And then we're opening the message with a personalized AI written opener written by ChatGPT or Claude. We have a PS line at the end written by ChatGPT or Claude's Sonnet. And then we have a subject line that's entirely AI driven based on the person's LinkedIn profile and the person's website. And so that's been working very, very well for us. We focus on clicks instead of replies, since we have a $197 offer with a 2-week free trial. It's a low friction offer. And our goal is to drive applications via cold email. And that's been working very well for us. And we're getting, somewhere between 10 and 30% click rates on our campaigns by using AI personalization.
10 and 30% click rates?
That's right. Our average click rate for non-AI personalized email is 2%. Our average click rate for AI personalized email is about 14%.
And then
What
what
variables
kind of personalization is this? See, this is what everybody wants to know. By the way, I think we're going to give you, you're going to get the retention award, because nobody is dropping off of this thing now. We're like 20 off of the peak attendees, and it's gone up since the last time I checked. It's like people heard that you were talking about outreach and they came back.
We do sell this as a playbook, Creighton Green says. So we teach this within our community. So come join us in SaaS Rise or Growth Rise. We talk about it every week on our masterminds, which happen every Tuesday and Wednesday. We also have a 16-week done with you course that you can get in as a community member. And then we do it in a done for you service. So this is what we do all day long. So I can give all the free knowledge of how to do it. I write on our blog for free, exactly video after video after video of how to do exactly what I'm talking about, and happy to give any nuanced details here.
And yeah, go ahead, Pete.
I was just going to ask, when you're saying ABM and sort of personalization and, kind of doing these more personalized campaigns, what is, when you're talking about list generation, like what is that total? I know it grows over time. Like, how many people are you targeting roughly? Because I know a lot of folks in here will start a business, export 100,000 contacts, and just start absolutely hammering them. Yep. What kind of number do you look at for, at least when you started targeting people for SaaS Rise?
Yeah. We have found that there's almost exactly 400,000 SaaS CEOs and founders globally. There's about 80,000 in the United States. There's about 400,000 globally. It's a very large target market. And so we a year and a half ago, when we started SaaS Rise in September 2003, came up with a strategy of let's just build a list of all 400,000. And so that's what we did. And so we went on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, we went on Apollo, we went on ListKit, we went on Instantly, Wizza, Uplead, and Seamless, and 20 others. And we just spent $22,000, I know because I kept the records, of exactly what was needed to get all 400,000 people. And we bought essentially and built over the course of 2 or 3 months a list of all 400,000 people in our target addressable market. Once we had that list, we started uploading that list to the ad networks and showing matched audience ads, not just on LinkedIn, but Meta, Google, and AdRoll as well. And we set up Instantly, and we started outreach to about 50,000 new prospects per month. So it takes us about 8 months. Every 8 months, we're able to get through the entire 400,000 TAM with a new sequence. And so we've now invited everybody in our TAM at least twice. And so out of 400,000 people we've reached out to, about 6,000 have applied, and we've had about 600 paying members. And so about 1.5% of our TAM is now, has now applied. And we've, bootstrapped a business from 0 to 4 million using that strategy.
And have you seen any decay as you went back through the list again, or was the sequence so different that it didn't even matter? Did the list fatigue at all? Did that make sense?
You have to re-verify the contacts if you haven't reached out in eight months. But other than re-verifying the contacts, which will just cost a few $100s, you're fine. You honor the unsubscribe list, of course. You don't re-email the people that actually applied, but everyone else you just re-email, and that's the essence of mid-market and enterprise ABM. Is you create your targets and then you keep getting in touch with them via ads and outbound until they convert.
Yeah.
And where does this flow to? So like once you get people to apply, is they get reviewed and then accepted and they join if they want? Do they go through some sort of like sales and onboarding process, kind of a one-to-one process? What does sort of the later funnel look like?
Yeah, so I'm getting a lot of great questions in the webinar chat, and people are asking, where do I find this blog? So just go to saasrise.com/blog. You can get our blog on AI personalization and all the videos on how we do it right there. To your question, Pete, what we do is we believe that marketing is in charge of lead generation and sales is in charge of closing leads. And so the way we separate our business, we have 6 employees. We have three people that work in marketing, 2 people that work in sales, and 1 other person. And what the marketing team does is cold outreach, ads, and warm outreach. That's all the marketing team does. And we generate about 300 new applications per month to join the community. Of those 300 applications that join the community each month, about half are qualified. So 150 qualified applications per month, and about 75 show up, actually sign up. 50 to 75 new customers a month are signing up now. And that's we have an SDR team, a sales team in South Africa, which is a great place to get salespeople. We use a firm called Recruit, Recruit, to get great salespeople from South Africa. And we have 2 guys, Nick and Lee, and they just follow up with the warm leads, follow up with the people that apply, and work to get them to convert over time.
I dropped in both the SaaS Rise blog link and then also the Recruit for folks interested.
So I know I'm trying to like do the math on this because I know other people are. So it's 100. You do this beautiful like low ticket offer into the Ascension, right? So I think Ascension number 1 you said was like a 16-week done with you, and then the big one's the done for you.
That's right.
Does that actually work for people? The done for you? I mean, sorry, just sort of like. And are you fulfilling that in-house, or is that like you're kicking that out to some agency or something like that?
It's all fulfilled in-house. We have every 4 months we run our B2B SaaS growth program. It's 16 weeks long. We charge $5,000 a month for 4 months. And currently we have 37 companies in that current cohort. The next cohort starts a month from today on May 22nd. So come join it. We'd love to have you in it for those watching. The more affordable way to do that is just join the community. So Ascension plan is free newsletter, $197 a month subscription, $5,000 a month done with you, live 2 hours a week on Zoom plus Slack support. And then the last one is $30,000 a month for done for you, where soup to nuts, our team, people I've personally trained, are implementing the ABM, the AI outbound, and the ads for you. And we only have capacity for 5 clients at any given time like that, but we're building up more team members and more capacity over time.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like hybrid community agency. Would you say that, at least from the way I'm hearing
Exactly.
it?
It's and I think any great software business can be powered by a great community. And so I found that the number one, I thought I was building a community. I literally set out to build YPO, digital YPO, basically, and start doing it by vertical, and starting with SaaS as our first vertical. And we are going to build, many more verticals beyond what we have right now, many more types of communities. But what I realized along the way is that our LTV is way higher and our ARPA is way higher when we have upsells to our existing community members, because you have the trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're essentially building a done for you agency plus a done with you, teaching program on top of the community. And that way we're able to get, instead of $200 a month per customer, on average, $800 a month per customer on average.
It's amazing. Do you remember when I came and saw you at Harvard Business School like 15 years ago?
I remember seeing you in Austin at SaaS Open a year and a half ago, or actually a year ago, but I don't remember you coming to see me at HBS.
Yeah, well, I came to see you. I had a little email newsletter app at the time, and I was like, please, will you just tell me what you would do? And my brother and I came and sat with you in this big empty room, and you told us your experience at iContact and your strategy for how you would attack MailChimp. Yep. This was like 2015. This was crazy, 10 years ago. And I remember you saying, it's like, you had this, whatever it was, your average subscription price was like $37. And then you had $800 a month.
Yep.
It was literally just a dedicated support rep with everything else exactly the same.
That's right.
So, I mean, that was what I remember hearing. This is sort of like, I think it's a similar sort of pattern. It's like there's this entry level thing, and then you have this other thing, which is a different value point for a different buyer who wants that. And then this other thing that's just much higher. Very interesting. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I want to quickly just find, I'll post the link on my LinkedIn because we just have about 7 minutes left, but Ryan had wrote this great, I don't want to call it a manifesto because that sounds too, whatever, but he wrote this great piece of content called Lessons from My 20s. Like I said, I'll drop the link on LinkedIn. There's even like a picture in here. I'll just share it. As I was scrolling through earlier today. Can I share? So guys, this is what it looks like. But this slide, just got me. So you talk through different things. You talk through purpose, life. Here's you, Obama, who I believe is Mark Benioff there. Just sitting here in a very engaged conversation. So I'll share the link to this, but I had something very specifically to ask you, something I came across. So specifically the goals and purpose sections, I just think they're so foundational into how humans kind of view and approach the world. So there was this specific slide and it says, quote, most people never create their life purpose. Instead, they get sucked into the dreaded vortex of passionless mediocrity. So to kind of end it, how do people find purpose? What are the important variables for people to look for as they're going on this really tough journey?
Yeah, I really like the intersection, looking at the intersection of what you love to do, what you can be paid for, what the world needs, those 3 questions. And so what you love, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. You can even really simplify it to like what you love and what you can be paid for. That's really, that intersection is sort of the answer. And so I always like to segment purpose as to like pre-parenting and then post-parenting. I think pre-kids, like you've got a lot of leeway before having children in the amount of time you have and how wide you can explore. And so I highly encourage people that either don't have kids or are pre-children to like really, really do the work on finding something you're good at that you love to do that people will pay for. And for 10 years, I built a community for entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs where we did workshops on how to find your purpose called hive.org. And, that's what we taught. We taught people how to find that intersection. For me right now I'm post kids. Now I got 1.5 kids. I got my second son on the way in September. And I am really focused on right now building B2B communities where we can speed up the spread of knowledge to help businesses grow and exit successfully. And it's a much more practical purpose than the purpose I had 10 years ago. My purpose 20 years ago was build the world's easiest email marketing tool. My purpose 10 years ago is to build a community of purpose-driven entrepreneurs. And now I'm 40, and my purpose is to speed up the acceleration of knowledge dissemination among B2B companies by building B2B communities, and to build the next Vistage, the next YPO, the next EO, but to do it by vertical and to do it digital first. So that's what we're doing with SaaS Rise and Growth Rise. We're about to launch Venture Rise, which will be for venture capital-backed companies. So that's my purpose today. I'm planning on working the next 10 years on building what we call Rise Worldwide, the company that runs all these communities. And my goal is very simple. It's to get to 100 million in ARR. The moment we get to 100 million ARR, we will sell the company to some private equity firm that will hopefully operationalize it and make sure it goes on forever. But until then, this is what we're building.
Hey,
Simple
you and me
number,
both,
hard
brother.
journey.
100 million ARR.
That's right. I haven't been there. My biggest success was 50 million in ARR. So if I get this company at 100 million ARR in the next 10 years, I'm going to retire, sit on the beach, and raise my two teenage boys.
You're going to be
Lastly,
so
is that what you
bored with
thought?
that.
Is that what you thought when you sold iContact, that would be that, or did you know there was something next?
Oh no, I always I was 27 when I sold iContact. I went to HBS for business school after I sold iContact, and then moved to San Francisco to build more software companies. I did a B2C startup that failed miserably, Connect.com, and now I'm just back to focusing on B2B companies where I can acquire customers with mathematical formulas.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
That's fantastic. Ryan, I know you said you got to jump at the top of the hour, so we won't hold you up. Tons of kind comments here in the chat. Someone said Fernando said 40 doesn't look older than 25. You can take that. You can run with that all day. So Ryan,
yeah, congrats on baby too. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old, so I'm right in it with you. Unfortunately, I've not been wise enough to try to create a 20-hour-a-week work week, but I'm also not as rich as you are. So what are you going to do?
You'll be there. You'll be there, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still grinding. Not 80 hours a week though. I picked the bootstrap route. So 8:30 to 5 every day, no weekends. That's my gig. Yeah.
It's good. I do 11 to 4 Monday through Thursday, but I'm very effective and efficient.
Yeah, I bet. All right. Well, Fernando's got a 34-year-old. He's ahead of us. Indeed. Cool. Thank you for attending another episode of Unfuck My Startup. Ryan, you're an awesome guest. You had some huge nuggets for everybody. I know I learned a ton. Thank you for joining us.
If you want to get higher response rates, you got to get in the inbox first. Guess what? I always tell people this. If my abuelita, messages me or emails me, I'm going to open that email. I don't give a shit what the subject line is, right? Most people that you talk to about cold email today will say cold email sucks. It doesn't work. And I go, really? The subject line is the most important part of the email? No, it's not. It's actually getting the email in the inbox. The second most important part of the email